Some of you came to my channel because you like the creationism debunking stuff. Some of you came because you like the philosophy of science I've extensively discussed. Some of you are here for more culturally salient takes. And some of you are just here for the science. Yeah, I know, this channel is a mess, and I hardly ever upload, but what can I say? You grow up and priorities change. Luckily, there are a bunch of other channels that have been picking up the slack, and I want to introduce you to some of my favorites so you have something to watch while you're pining away from me. Instead of hitting the refresh button on my channel every few minutes, you can pass the time between my uploads by just going to these channels instead. Their links are in the description box. First, we have Claire Craig, a very thoughtful and interesting creator whose focus has principally been on the intersection of art, psychology, and politics. I really connect with her content because I feel that her opposition to the cultural vandalism enacted by certain ideologies is rooted in the same set of values that motivate my own dissent. This isn't just another dime-a-dozen anti-SJW channel complaining about how the latest pop culture consumer product is becoming woke. As a lover of art, and thus the free thought which must be allowed to flourish for art to be able to authentically express human passions, she takes umbrage at moralistic efforts to constrain the limits of expression along the provincial lines put forth by totalitarian know-nothings. Claire goes in depth on topics surrounding the psychology, history, and politics not just of censorship, but also of those things used to justify the repression of the arts. I see her opposition to Zhdanovist currents in art as paralleling my own opposition to Lysenkoist currents in science. Therefore, I offer her my highest endorsement. I also happen to have some insider knowledge that she's been working very hard on what will no doubt be an absolute banger of a video about the psychology, history, and political controversies surrounding the tortured artist trope. So go ahead and subscribe to her immediately. Next, we have Philosophy Battle, a YouTuber who talks about all the philosophy of science stuff that I've been diving into on this channel, but in so much more detail. He talks about the historical development of the conflict between those who take science to be an objective enterprise and the various currents that think science is ultimately just the expression of cultural values. All of our old friends, Karl Popper, Thomas Kuhn, Willard Quine, and more, make appearances throughout his videos, which have been painstakingly animated and given fun little sound effects. I really like the framing of philosophical conflicts in this arena as a literal war, complete with maps of multiple battlefields, philosophers wielding thematically appropriate weapons, and a narrator with a stylish military sash. The dork inside me goes a little nuts every time I see Philosophy Battle upload, but as it's been a while since he's last put out a video, I'm hoping that an injection of new subscribers will motivate him to jump back into the trenches and fire the next volley of shells at the enemy position. Please give him your subs, or at the very least, go check out his videos. I promise you're going to be left smarter by the end of them. Up next, we have Gutsik Gibbon, in which Erica, a graduate student in bioanthropology, lays waste to creationist nonsense in a style well suited to the current decade, complete with perfectly timed zoomer jump cuts to dank memes. Erica is well positioned to carry the torch of all your old favorite debunkers and use it to set fire to creationist bedtime stories. She's extremely intelligent, very thorough in her research, and has a wicked sense of humor which allows her to carry the fine art of poning internet creationists into the new decade without it feeling stale and overdone. My personal favorite video of hers, owing probably to my own hubris, was her point-by-point commentary of my debate with the creationist geologist, David McQueen. Her deconstruction of the debate was so good that I actually enjoy returning to it even more than the original debate itself. I never would have imagined, back when I was doing a point-by-point commentary of the debate between Bill Nye and Ken Ham in 2014, that somebody might someday do the same with one of my own debates, so it's been really nice to see the wheel turn like that, and I'm very pleased that someone as worthy as Erica is taking up the mantle for the largely thankless, yet enormously informative, task of debunking nonsense. As Erica herself obviously understands, and this understanding, I believe, has contributed substantially to her meteoric rise, which I hope you will contribute to with your subscriptions, debunking nonsense isn't about the nonsense, or about showing off how clever the debunker is. Anyone can Google why some claim made by some crank is wrong. Debunking nonsense is about giving people the tools to be able to debunk nonsense, and then showing them how those tools are applied. Our final shout-out goes to the Riot Science Club, where Riot stands for reproducible, interpretable, open, and transparent. This channel showcases a number of experts from a plurality of fields who discuss some of the things that keep the sciences, and the social sciences especially, from reaching their full potential where things like reproducibility and verifiability are concerned. A lot of the talks are on the more technical side of things, but they integrate a lot of the philosophical issues that I've been interested in when considering the steps that should be taken to make the contents of scientific research as rigorous as possible and accountable to public reason. Because it is something of an open forum, there is some crap that does leak into their otherwise pristine content. I'm personally not too crazy about the talks given by people who endorse epistemic pluralism or the integration of critical theory into science. These kinds of things seem entirely counterproductive if one of your main goals is reproducibility. But most of the talks are really eye-opening, and beautifully illustrate why most of what comes out of the social sciences should be taken with a massive grain of salt, at least until certain specific conditions are met. Dr. Tal Yarkoni's talk on the generalizability crisis, for example, is one that I regard as required viewing for anyone who cares about these types of issues. Okay, so there you go. A channel for people who like the cultural and political stuff, a channel for people who like the philosophy of science stuff, a channel for people who like the debunking stuff, and a channel for people who like the scientific and meta-scientific stuff. All great channels, all worthy of your subscriptions, and all linked in the description box. Okay, have a good one. Also, face reveal at 100,000 subscribers.